rest, believe it or not, can make you more productive. That sounds controversial, doesn't it, Christina?
It does, but if you think about some of the most successful people in the world, they have things like daily meditation practices. They carve out time to exercise. Yes, some of them don't sleep as much, and you've got to find a sleep rhythm that works for you. And that might be 4 hours, it might be 10 hours. This whole 8 hour thing is kind of a bit of a myth. So please don't feel like there's something wrong with you if you don't need 8 hours or if you need more than that. There's a lot more to it than that, which we will cover in an episode of Healthy Habits. But rest is really good because it helps you to concentrate. It slows your brain down. It makes you calmer. And it just helps you to think more clearly. And it does that because, particularly if it's something like meditation or exercise or getting into a state of flow, which we'll cover in a moment, it helps the neurons in your brain, and it can increase their connectivity. It can create new ones. It can even get rid of some of the bad ones sometimes, depending on how you do it. So it is worth factoring in that time because there are a lot more benefits to it than you might think.
Exactly. If you don't factor in that time and allow breaks, your brain becomes fatigued, and your brain cannot perform well when it's fatigued, just like your body can't. If you feel physically exhausted, you're not going to be able to run 5 miles. If your brain feels fatigued, it's not going to be able to process things as well. It's not going to be able to generate ideas. It's not going to be able to work on projects, etc. But if you do take a period of rest and give your body and more your brain time to recharge, it then has the power to be more productive. It then has the power after that break to actually properly take on challenges and work on things and process things because it's recharged and refueled and ready to go. And rest will boost your creativity, which is what we're all about here because we're mostly writers here, right?
Exactly. And that quiet time can help you kind of percolate, if you will. So say you're stuck on something. What was that face for?
It's like percolate is such a good way to describe it. That's
how I think about it. I want to ban the word rumination. I want to ban the concept of rumination. If you ruminate on things, please don't. Please see a counselor, because rumination is a sign of depression or languishing. It is deeply, deeply unhealthy. It leads to unproductivity. It leads to feeling shit about yourself. It leads to anxiety. We don't ruminate. We percolate, okay? So I've got an example from when I was working on the 6th Afterlife Cause book, which I'm currently drafting. And I was not feeling it. And I couldn't work out why. It's like I really like the concept. I love spending time with the characters, but something didn't sit right. I wanted to write, but every time I got into it, I was like, eh. And I really couldn't work out why. And I decided to go back to basics. And I started listening to a podcast while I was gardening. And it's a podcast called Uncanny, which I highly recommend. It's by BBC Sounds. And it's where people get in contact with the host and they share their paranormal experiences. So they've covered poltergeists, they've covered possible demons, they've covered UFOs, and they have believers and non-believers kind of analyze what happened to this person to try and work out what it actually was. And, a lot of them are kind of left open because you can't say for definite what any of this was, but it's still really interesting. And based on that, and then some reading that I did, the concept of what was happening in book 6 was kind of percolating away in the back of my mind. And I realized what it was missing. So I'd written the kind of opening chapters, but it was the next ones where things from the inciting incident that I was struggling with. And so I went back over my outline based on the things that I'd found out from the research and from things percolating in the back of my mind. And then I could fill in the bits that I didn't think worked, that needed a bit more action, that felt a bit slow, that I just wasn't connecting with. And because of that, I'm now much more excited to write about it. And if I had just forced myself to keep going instead of pulling back and taking time to, garden and listen to podcasts and read weird articles, that never would have happened. And I would have been publishing something that I wasn't happy with and that I wasn't as motivated to work on.
That is awesome. I love that you took the time away from it as well, because yes, your series is becoming more popular and you obviously feeling that pressure to keep going because you enjoy it and obviously the readers are enjoying it. But just taking that time away obviously made a big difference. And now the next one's going to be even better. So I'm very excited.